Welcome to Daily Scary Tales, where nightmares come to life. Hit subscribe and share the horror with your friends, if they're brave enough. Today, we unfold a tale that will send shivers down your spine. It's a story of whispers, secrets, and darkness, all hidden beneath the surface of a seemingly ordinary job. Stay till the end. You won't believe the horrifying discovery. So let's dive right in. This is the story of the Whispering Cave. A few months ago, I accepted a job as a caving guide. It sounded perfect. Days spent exploring hidden tunnels, glittering stalactites, and breathtaking underground chambers. Besides, who wouldn't want to get paid for adventure, right? But little did I know, I'd signed up for something far beyond my comprehension. This tale begins in a remote national park. A new section of the cave system had recently been discovered, and it was my responsibility to map it alone before any tours could be organized. The job meant isolation. There would be no cell service deep underground, only me, a headlamp, ropes, and a map. A map that was ominously incomplete. My mentor briefly mentioned an unusual phenomenon in the newly unearthed section of the cave system. With a laugh, he called it the Whispering Cave. When I asked why, he dodged the question, saying visitors had always reported strange acoustic effects, but insisted it was harmless. I assumed it was an exaggeration or perhaps a local legend to whip up mystery. Oh, how wrong I was. At first, my exploration seemed normal. The formations inside the tunnel sparkled under my headlamp. I charted passageways with a calm professionalism, marking the map section by section. Every sound echoed tenfold. The crunch of my boots, the rhythmic drip of water, even the zip of my gear. But then, somewhere after mile 2, something changed. My footsteps weren't alone. A faint whisper followed me. Not an echo. Something different. Something alive. I stopped walking completely just to test the acoustics. At first, silence engulfed me. Then, like a distant breeze creeping closer, there it was, again. A voice. But it wasn't a language I understood. Unlike echoes, these whispers sounded as though they grew closer. I turned my headlamp toward the direction of the noise. Nothing but cold, jagged rock filled the narrow corridor. I shook it off as imagination. It had to be, right? Spending hours alone in darkness can affect your mind. I resumed walking, occasionally glancing over my shoulder, my growing paranoia etched into my sweaty palms. However, the whispers persisted, now louder, clearer. They didn't echo anymore. Instead, they seemed to surround me. With every step I took deeper into the cave, the air grew denser. My light flickered ominously. Adding to the unease, strange symbols began appearing on the walls. Spirals, human-like figures, and jagged shapes that seemed freshly etched despite the centuries-old rock surface. Something in my gut urged me to turn back, but it was my job. Quitting was not an option. Hours passed. Each passage I explored only deepened my sense of dread. The whispers now began forming fragments of what I thought were words. And then, the most terrifying thing happened. As I crouched to mark a new pathway on my map, my hand hovered over the stone floor, and, I swear to you, the ground beneath me vibrated. A sudden gust of wind whooshed through the tunnel. Impossible for a sealed cave system like this. My map was ripped from my hands and vanished into the dark. Panicking, I called out, "Hello? Is someone there? This is private property." But the only response was my own voice echoing back at me, layered with overlapping, distorted, ghostly whispers. Fighting every instinct to flee, I decided to keep moving. I reached what had to be the end of the mapped corridor, but before me now was an unmarked, peculiar passage. I hesitated. My mentor hadn't mentioned this. The entrance was narrow, and something about it radiated unease, yet curiosity propelled me forward. Flashlight in hand, I wedged myself into the narrow passage where the whispers rose to a deafening crescendo. That's when I noticed something incredibly odd. The air no longer felt cold. It was warm, almost humid. There were no natural formations here. Instead, the walls were unnaturally smooth and marked with claw-like scratches. Then, the whispers stopped. Utter silence overtook the space. Not one sound around me, not even the drip of condensation. My flashlight beam flickered and went out entirely. Darkness swallowed everything. I pressed every button, smacked it against my hand, but the light wouldn't return. Complete blindness made me freeze where I stood. Moments later, as I struggled to regulate my shaky breath, a glow emerged deep within the tunnel. A faint, green luminescence like mist floating eerily above the ground. And then I heard it. Footsteps coming straight toward me. Paralyzed, I stayed rooted in place. My flashlight flickered back to life momentarily, catching a glimpse of what shouldn't exist. A humanoid figure stood not 10 feet from me, pale-faced with hollow, black eyes. Its body seemed translucent, shifting in and out of form. Every whisper I'd heard suddenly made sense. They weren't echoes. They were warnings. The creature opened its hollow mouth, and from it poured a sound so chilling, I involuntarily dropped my gear bag. It wasn't a scream, but a deep, resonating moan that seemed to penetrate my very soul. Whatever this thing was, it was ancient, powerful, and undoubtedly angry that I had disturbed its domain. I don't know how I summoned the courage, but survival instincts kicked in. I turned and ran as fast as the cave allowed, my headlamp now glitching wildly, casting disorienting shadows along the way. I didn't dare look behind, but I knew, I could feel, that the entity followed. The entrance tunnel was miles away. Every second felt like an eternity. The walls pulsated, the whispers crescendoed, as if the very cave itself wanted me gone. Just when I thought I wouldn't make it, light cracked above me. The surface, salvation, was in sight. I burst out into daylight, panting and soaked to the bone in sweat. The quiet buzz of the outside world felt surreal after that nightmarish ordeal. Whatever had lurked within the whispering cave wasn't just terrifying. It was something beyond human understanding. I quit my job the next day, reporting the area as unstable and unsafe for exploration. To this day, I wonder what might have happened had I lingered a moment longer back in that darkened passage. The symbols, the whispers, the creature, they remain seared into my memory. So if you are brave enough to explore, let the Whispering Cave remain a haunting tale for the journals. Some mysteries are better left unsolved. Thanks for joining us on Daily Scary Tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to never miss a terrifying story. Be careful out there. You never know what's waiting in the dark. Good night and sweet nightmares. Rest if you can.